We're good to go.
Okay, it is currently 5:30 and I would like to call to order the August 8th, 2023 meeting of the Prescott BIA Board of Management meeting. Do I have a mover and a seconder? All in favor? Okay. Approval of the agenda, item 2, recommendation that the agenda be accepted as presented. Do I have a mover and a seconder? All approved. Item 3, declarations of interest.
I have a question. Do we bring new ideas forward at the declarations of interest or at the end? At the end part, like just new ideas.
So I think, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, or actually Justin.
So the declaration of interest would be if you had like a conflict with one of the items on the agenda. So and then the new ideas part would be in that new business from members in the committee roundtable section.
Okay.
And there's also the option to, within a subcommittee, you'd send me an idea and we can kind of take it to a subcommittee and then kind of grow on it.
Yeah, that's the idea, right? You throw them out there and then they disperse. Yes. And then see the good ones to the bad ones.
Exactly.
Forward. Yeah.
And that gives Dana and Justin, if there needs to be some research or some research completed or things to check into, it gives them some time to be able to come back to us with options.
Yeah, for sure. Just making sure I save it for the right spot.
Okay, do I have a mover to proceed from declarations of interest? And a seconder? All in favor?
Linda, should we introduce a new member?
We're doing that under item 8.
Okay.
Yeah. Delegations or presentations, I don't believe we have any. Minutes of the previous meeting, a recommendation that the minutes dated July 11th, 2023 be accepted as presented. Do I have a mover? And a second? All in favor? Financial report.
So I thought this might be an easier means to see it, but I'm not entirely sure. But essentially what we have up here is the financial report as of July 31st. What I've done is taken what we've allocated this year versus what's actually been expensed, because that gives us a better idea of where the budget stands. If you go through there, you'll see the small things like the OBIA membership and the AGM costs, as well as the AGM advertising and the ad that was placed in the Shakespeare program this year. And what's been previously approved this year by the board. So the Environics Analytics, the Riverwalk Thursdays. There's also the expense in there right now for the pop-ups, which was what was approved in 2022, what was expensed into this year. So it's showing up in our financial report here. But, and the iHeart Main Street Steps Public Art. So you can see there at the end, the reserve that was carried over from last year, which was $31,013. And what's left there in this year's budget, the $8,188.
Any questions? Okay, recommendation that the financial report be accepted as presented. Mover, please. Seconder. All in favor? Okay, committee reports. Marketing and Promotions Committee.
So at the Marketing and Promotions Committee this past month, talked again in greater detail about the fall and Christmas promotion ideas. For the fall, I think it's safe to say that everyone sort of drifted away from the harvest theme and more towards a Halloween theme. So focusing on ideas such as trying to get businesses involved in a decorating contest. So if we can get all the storefronts decorated for Halloween, operate some sort of contest to encourage that. as well as some other ideas sort of looping in with both the Halloween. I believe it falls on a weekday this year. I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head, but I think it might be an inconvenient day. But in that time period around Halloween, doing some activations like we did last year with the last 2 years with the pumpkin parade. We had a market there. Utilizing the pop-ups. We also, one of the things that keeps coming up in those discussions is a pumpkin roll, which I believe would include rolling pumpkins down a large hill.
How fun does that sound? Seriously.
Still sort of considering the logistics of such a venture, but that is something that people have been talking quite a bit about. So we're just sort of finalizing what we would look at for the September meeting, but focusing on, I think, ways in which to sort of get that Halloween spirit going down there. And since I think it seems that people, not really a Halloween guy myself, but it seems that people really get into the spirit of that. So it's something that I think can get a lot of businesses and storefronts engaged. And for the Christmas, that's still a little ways out, but have been talking quite a bit at these meetings about the idea of a Christmas market at the pop-ups, utilizing the pop-up sheds. That's definitely something that I think we'll be bringing forward in the next meeting or two, and ways in which we can utilize that to bring new business into the downtown, whether that's by operating some sort of wagon rides, sleigh rides between that sort of pop-up site and some other sites in the downtown, rotating through there, finding ways to integrate it into decorating contests again, decorating sort of the downtown, trying to get more of like an almost Hallmark Christmas movie vibe going between the multiple spaces. So they're sort of farther off in the future, but.
And Elving.
Elving, cannot forget Elving.
Not forget Elving.
People, that would be, if anyone's unfamiliar, that would be when BIA members dress up as elves and visit various downtown businesses with some Prescott dollars.
It's so much fun.
Linda is a passionate elf. She brings her own costume.
Love Elving.
I'm glad you do.
So if anyone had any thoughts, or if anyone from the committee had anything to add to that first meeting, or ideas to consider on that going forward?
Nicole, any thoughts?
Like Halloween stuff, like the Halloween, the decorations and like it gets a lot of the downtown, but I'm wondering how we can like incorporate everyone more of like I know there's the Elving, so what if we did like a Halloween witch going around for candy or something like that? Like, I don't know if
That is such I love that idea.
like you get people
Yeah.
out and about and be like, if you spot the Halloween witch, or they can tag Invest Prescott or something and say, I spotted her. And it can be like the weekend, not just the one day, because it's so hard even for us, like Halloween, you try to make like this big decoration and then the next day it's like, it's November. It's like gone to fall. So if does it fall on a weekend? I don't know.
It's a Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
Yeah.
We did have another business owner that had expressed interest in like a downtown trick or treating.
Yeah.
Something along
Yeah.
make it more interactive.
There's some interesting.
Well, I think like the decoration's a great idea, but to add to what else we can do is along those lines.
Kind of when you were saying that was trick or treating, kind of is along the passport where it's a reason to go in, the candy, but maybe if it wasn't just candy, because then we wouldn't just be attracting children, because children isn't everyone's target market for all the businesses.
Or we could
So
do
maybe we could have something that we would let people know on that Tuesday, because actually Tuesday for me is better than a weekend, because I kind of early again, so that maybe isn't so bad for a lot of businesses. Stay open a little later on a Tuesday and have trick or treating and maybe prizes within our businesses, some draws or something, where they encourage them to come across to everybody.
That could be the trick part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like actually have a mixture of things and then have it, appeal to broad demographic,
Yeah.
right?
And I feel like Sherry would have tons of ideas
Yeah.
for this topic too. She would
She'd
have
be a good
lots
one.
of neat things that would draw people to kind of her spot and maybe spread those ideas around. But yeah, like maybe almost more, children of course welcome, but ideas for the adults too, like kind of our the people with the money, the target market.
We're going on that like third week trick, and then the treat part where it's like, as you said, certain businesses would have a treat for that day. It doesn't have to be candy. It can be like, let's say for you, something hair, maybe something retail, that would be the treat that you can get in that business to bring people in the door. Something along those lines, kind of general, but.
Natalie, your thoughts?
Well, I'm kind of like I think that's a great idea. So having something like that, I like what we discussed too in the marketing committee where we kind of have like a competition with our storefronts, doing something like that.
Yeah, another reason just to visually look around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to draw people that way, right? Like come and see our cool decorations. I know we discussed too like the haunted house idea. Yeah, because that draws more people in too, not just kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
And I know you just did it one year, and I think it was here. And it was terrifying. Do you remember that?
I remember.
It was like,
So-
it was before COVID.
Yeah.
Like my son left crying. My daughter wanted to go through it.
I wonder if you could do it at the fort.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be like creepy.
Yeah.
Jeannie, thoughts?
I like the idea of the kids and adult stuff. Definitely do the trick or treating for downtown. Have the storefront either ready to hand out the kid to the children and maybe have the adults come in, whether it's for a draw or for an instant something. Each store responsible for their own dressing up too.
Tracy?
This all sounds really good. As far as the haunted house, maybe you could tie in the pop-ups, have the pop-up shot as a haunted house. I don't know.
A lot of ideas have come up, sorry, just to jump in turning the lighthouse into a haunted house. I know the previous vendor that was there last year had quite a few ideas around that. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to return this year. But I do know we've had like a paranormal investigation there, which, you know, attracted, I think we had about, you know, over 20 people that participated in that. I know liability is what it is, but if we had it, you know, limited access, maybe that's something that we could do, a little, you know, staged haunted house at the lighthouse that would maybe create that connection down to the pop-ups. And then with the time of year, we've encouraged existing pop-up vendors to stay basically right up until Thanksgiving. And then if we were thinking of approaching any existing ones, if they're interested in coming back for a Halloween event, same with the holiday market as well. You know, we'd like to, you know, create that space as well, either for existing or some new vendors to come in that fit more, that have products and services that fit more with those events, right? So I think it could be great though. And again, like creating, the more we can create these connections between pop-ups, lighthouse, downtown, if you give people a reason to move about, they do. We're seeing that on, you know, a consistent basis this summer. So yeah, I would personally suggest maybe we look at the lighthouse. Again, it could be a little bit complicated from a liability standpoint, but.
What about also using the amphitheater? Like a little touring to different little haunted houses or cottages.
Or like a haunted walk.
Yeah,
Haunted walk. I would love to do a haunted walk.
Is Prescott haunted?
Oh, we have lots of stories of, we've got a lot of history, so it's hard to deny that there's not some hauntings, there's speculation thereof. It's really about finding, you know, I'm sure maybe we've never talked to the Historical Society, but maybe that's something they might have some interest in taking on. if we could find a group that would kind of lead that, I think that would be awesome.
Cause that would be really cool too.
And there's not, like, everyone, as much as, yeah, we love Christmas, there's not a lot of towns that really do Halloween. You know, if we could turn Prescott into Halloween town,
A real fall.
a real
time
fall, you know,
destination.
growing into someday a real tourist attraction. That was always my kind of dream initially, just when you come in and you look at the architecture and the history, and it begs for those type of events, hauntings and, you know.
Oh, my
mysteries
daughter would
and-
love it. Like, we have to start decorating like right now for Halloween.
And people seem to get more into Halloween decorating more than Christmas. I don't know about you guys, but I see a lot of Halloween.
Ruth? Yeah, lots of good ideas. I'm just, when you're talking about a trick or treating downtown, are you thinking of the actual day? Because I'm thinking by the time kids get home from school and they get into or out of a costume, are they gonna wanna come downtown to trick or treat? Are you talking about
Right, they might-
Saturday before? Yeah, I can't imagine kids wanting to come downtown instead of going to a subdivision when you can get lots of stuff.
Yeah, that's a very.
If you do say like, do an event maybe like the weekend before,
Yeah.
that would be more beneficial, I think, because you'd attract a lot more people.
I think that's what we were talking about. We're leaning more towards like
Yeah.
that Saturday for the businesses. and,
Yeah,
You know, that be all the downtown, it just kind of leads up to Halloween and the pumpkin parade and it all feeds into, you know, those other events. Gets people excited about trick or treating on Tuesday.
We get to do more of it. Are people gonna do the trunk trick or treating still now that we're kind of moving away from the COVID ideas? I wonder.
What's trunk trick or
Some of the communities, I think the grocery store here did it if I'm right, and a couple other spots where people just, and the Johnstown Community Center did it. And people just drove up and opened their trunks and had candy and people went around in their costumes and trick or treated just from trunk to trunk. Yeah, and a bunch of businesses, but just like community members too, they almost decorate it. So I wonder if they have it and if we either line it up if they are or there to this event. Yeah, we went to the Johnstown one last year.
you just fill your trunk with candy.
Yeah.
Instead of giving it out from your house,
Yeah.
everyone just is encouraged to go to one
Yeah,
central
and it wasn't
location.
on Halloween, it was
Yeah.
before.
Oh, it's pre,
Actually.
okay, pre-Halloween.
Yeah, it was
That's
before, so my kids got to trick or treat twice, because I was torn, so like, they don't need this candy, but they're kids and what's trunk or treating, so we went. And yeah, they were all lined up at Johnstown in the baseball diamond. Yeah, walked along, they had the fire truck there. Yeah, I think the intendant did it as well, we can go.
Another possible location would be the Leo, maybe in partnership with community services. In my former job, the community did that where they would turn the arena into like a haunted house, have, you know, different face painters and activities going on. It was also the community that happened to have Nestle located in it, so they would donate thousands and thousands of mini candy bars.
That's
and you would
crazy.
give out candy, it would just be this giant community trick or treat, right? And then a safe option, right, for people who didn't necessarily want their kids going out door to door. And, you know, today's day and time, it's, you know, you have to be concerned about those things. So
And
it was
weather.
huge,
It's
like,
always a
and weather.
crappy day, it's always raining.
Yeah. And we would put thousands of people through that,
Yeah.
like really good response.
That'd be kind of a combination of a lot of the ideas we're bringing up. We have our
Mhm.
trick or treating, we maybe have our haunted
Have a little haunted house. It was like
Yeah.
kind of the one-stop shop for everything.
And the Leo has all those games and activities that they put out for a lot of the things. Maybe some of those could be part of the events there too. Yeah, that might be a fun idea. And the Saturday before.
Now they've got the pumpkin parade, so I don't want to necessarily dump a whole other event on them, but maybe it's something that we could do in conjunction, right? BIA, community services, maybe that part would be something that maybe, you know, the business community takes more of a lead on than
Yeah.
community services, and they focus on pumpkin parade, what we're using. Yeah, maybe, and again, not necessarily for this year, but that would be a much bigger event, but something to build towards.
I like it.
Any additional comments or questions? Okay. On to placemaking.
So at the placemaking committee, also discussed some of those things. They sort of ran together in those regards. The main thrust was talking about the I Heart Main Street and Steps Public Art. May recall that at the last meeting, we talked about the difference between what we had allocated and the cost of a potential mural through that program with their funding, and looking at smaller scale projects. So they sent a variety of potential smaller projects to do. That the placemaking committee, through the discussion, sort of settled on the idea of a decal that could be deployed in the downtown. So have an artist design a downtown Prescott decal that we could use as almost like an introductory wayfinding, part of a sort of introduction to wayfinding throughout the downtown. Discussed perhaps the idea of doing some icons as part of that. I had a conversation with the steps people this morning where essentially we discussed what the cost of doing multiple ones would be versus perhaps just doing one initial one and having that installed. And that seems to be the direction that would be within our budget. So moving forward, we'd be looking at talking to the artist who did our Prescott tourism map, the tearaway map, about doing perhaps something that would connect into that for the downtown, which would allow us to expand them to other decals in the future. So could do uptown ones, could do ones for specific attractions using those designs that she has done before. So we'll be going forward with that and seeing what the pricing would be to have her design something, and with the intent to have it designed and prepared this year and then installed next April. So if we put it in at this point in the year, there's a good chance that some of them don't survive the winter, whereas if we wait until April, then they will last the entire season. And likely most longer, but it stretches out the life of them to put them in the springtime.
Ruth, any questions or comments?
I was just, would there be any value to like having a design contest between artists that might come up with a design?
So we would lose the funding. That's associated with
okay,
the
no,
design.
I
We did that.
Yeah.
One of the things that can be done is sort of like a open RFP, but it's a smaller project, and I think there's probably too value in like keeping it associated with that design that came through the map, but having some sort of design contest for something, whether it would be like a different art installation or something, would be very cool. I think that would get people excited.
I just know some new artists like to get their name out there, right? So just a thought.
Jeannie?
So far, I'm catching up on this stuff.
Natalie?
I like the idea. I'm for it.
Jody?
Yeah, I think it sounds good.
Nicole?
Good.
Okay. Okay, we will move on to chair updates. The first item I wanted us to look at was the fact that our treasurer has provided us with his resignation. And unfortunately, we are going to accept his resignation, which means we no longer have a treasurer. And we're down one person, but I want to introduce everyone to Jeannie, who is coming back. So yay, thank you so much for coming back.
Just to jump in, I think we need to have a formal, a motion to actually accept the resignation.
Okay.
Nitesh, yeah.
What's his last name?
You're testing me. Naidu, Naidu.
And Thank you.
AIDU.
Okay, so the recommendation is that we formally accept the resignation of Nitesh Nadu, who was our treasurer. Do I have a mover and a seconder? All in favor? Thanks, Dina.
Now you can do the fun welcome.
Okay, yay, and welcome, woo, Jeannie. So Jeannie brings a wealth of experience. She has multiple businesses. She's a force of nature. She doesn't stop. And she does have experience on the BIA. So we're really lucky to have her rejoining. We're so happy to have you. So the next item is now we have the position of treasurer open. So I am just looking to see if is anyone who might be interested in nominating themselves for that position. Nicole?
I can nominate myself.
Okay, excellent. Anyone else?
I'll do it. I'll nominate myself just for fun.
I thought you were vice chair.
Oh, okay.
I'm queen of the universe. No.
So we also, at present time, do not have a vice chair.
Oh, I thought-
Kevin's resignation.
Oh, okay.
Open.
Why don't should we do the two?
So if someone wanted to be one of those positions and other.
We had talked about it. I didn't know we hadn't formalized it.
I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay.
I don't know how it really.
So what's the next step?
Well, if there was no other, I believe if there was no other nominations for that, then.
Well, are there any other interest in the position of vice chair? Okay.
So you could make a motion to appoint
Okay.
Nicole, the treasurer, and Natalie, the vice chair, if that was.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to recognize Nicole as treasurer and Natalie as vice chair. Do I have a mover? A seconder? All in favor? Okay, yay. We have an executive team again. Look at us.
I have a suggestion about the financial thing. I was gonna leave it, but since we're already on it, is there any way that the financial report can come out when the agenda does?
So
It just, we haven't received it of late. It's,
yes, going forward.
Okay, because it's 3 or 4 minutes, hard to get your mind on it, so, okay, perfect.
Other than that, the only other item I wanted to remind everyone of was that the South Grenville Chamber of Commerce, the North Grenville Chamber of Commerce, and GCFDC, we're working in collaboration to have our second political breakfast. So that is next Monday with MP Barrett, and that's up in Kempville. So if anyone's interested, we're still open. We've got about 47 people coming so far. So it should be interesting.
Big one?
Oh yeah. I'm co-hosting. I gotta go.
Okay. And where is it in Kempville?
It's at the municipal center, I believe.
Yeah, North Grenville.
I have the address. 820 Heritage Drive.
I should probably go. I haven't been there in a while. Send me the deeds,
Okay.
because I'm sure they've probably been.
Any questions? Okay, excellent. On to staff updates. BIA coordinator update.
Well, I'll start with a brief update about the Riverwalk Thursdays. Start with the third point there. We had to postpone last week's, which was, I think, going to be a pretty exciting one, but there were tornado warnings or watches, which spooked everyone quite a bit. But the Prescott Spiritual Wellness Fair, which I'll talk about in a few slides too, was going to have a little pre-fair preview at the Riverwalk Thursdays, but they were good enough to postpone to this week. So if you come down on Thursday night this week, the people who are hosting the Prescott Spiritual Wellness Fair will be set up with a related entertainer, as well as some of the types of things you'll see on this Saturday at the fair. We have had in the night, we have had to cancel a different night as well due to the weather, but we've had two musicians and two art classes at the Thursday nights. Both of them tend to draw a fair number of people to the clock tower. The musician nights, we see quite a few people coming in, sitting down, grabbing dinner. The art classes were well attended. I think we had 20 to 25 people passing through each one of them over the course of 3 hours. We have had a couple of businesses that have really consistently hosted some Thursday night activities. So for example, Old Magic has had a different activity every Thursday night in store, ranging from spell casting classes to having tarot readers in. Last Thursday, she was supposed to have a monarch butterfly conversation with someone who works with monarch butterflies, but about monarch butterflies, not to the monarch butterflies. But they postponed that as well, so that's happening this week in there. And Uman's Fishing, which is one of the newer downtown stores, has been hosting fishing lessons a lot of the weeks. Starting with the second or third weeks, you started to have more people coming in for the fishing lessons. And on the third week, I believe she actually had a pro angler who was in town for the Derby that was in the States there 2 or 3 weeks ago. And she had such a turnout that when I went home after we shut down the museum for the Thursday night, she still had about a dozen kids with the pro fishermen down at the waterfront doing the lessons. So we've seen a lot of people coming in for those sorts of things. Anecdotally, it still feels like there's more foot traffic walking about. One of the key things is to get more things happening in more spaces down there. So the more that you can have going on in those multiple locations for something like that, the better it is. And I think as we see as well, those restaurants opening up on King Street over the next few weeks, we'll also see more of that evening traffic down there too. But all in all, it's been nice to see quite a few people. I know Charity, I think you were down for watercolor night there a couple of Thursday nights ago. See people out and about at those things and taking in part in some of those, not activities that you traditionally think you might find downtown on a Thursday night. So it has been, at a minimum, enjoyable, and it's been good to see a lot more people out and about then too. So if anyone had any questions before I hop on to the next slide.
Amy?
No, I'm good.
Natalie? Jerry? Tracy? Please? Okay. On to the next.
So I'll do a little overview of what happened on the Civic long weekend. You may or may not have seen, for example, Nick Nets strolling down King Street. I know when I first encountered him coming around the corner, it was vaguely horrifying. But so we had some buskers who were downtown, pop-ups, the farmers market and up around the clock tower on the Saturday on the Civic long weekend. Magician Spencer Schur, who did 2 shows over at the pop-ups. That's him setting up there before one of his shows. Nick Nets, who is a stilt walker who dresses as a basketball hoop and was really engaging. And it was really something to see him walking through the farmers market or down King Street and very close to being able to see in the second story windows too. Got a lot of eyes. When I was with him on King Street, he got a lot of honks too. So that was fun up there. And a balloon twister, Dazzling Darren, who was incredibly good with the people walking through, with the kids especially, and just, I guess, a little anecdotal thing there too. I was near him while he was doing some of the balloon twisting in the farmers market, and he kept asking people, "Are you from Prescott?" And the number of people who weren't, they were passing through and they saw things and they had got out and talked. And then he immediately became an ambassador, thanking them for exploring Prescott. So that was great. And then beside him, you'll see the caricaturist who was in town. He was at the farmer's market during the, I believe it was 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Another hit there, a lot of people stopping to get their caricature done. You may have seen some of them shared online over the past few days. So there's a little bit of the schedule of what we had through. We were also had into town Chalkmaster Dave, who was a chalk artist, and you'll see his semi-permanent installation down in front of the clock tower patio right now, which is a downtown Prescott logo, as well as a three-dimensional cannon. And on Sunday, he also did some smaller stuff down on the promenade, which as of 2 o'clock, it was not to be as permanent as the stuff at the clock tower, but as of 2 o'clock today, you could still see it. It was still there. So we did some St. Lawrence River fish along the promenade street there, down there. And so there is Chalkmaster Dave set up at the clock tower. And there is the caricaturist who did quite a few co-caricatures with either two people or in that case, a person and their Archie. And yes, so we'll just jump into, if anyone has, I doubt many questions about that, except how does he get on the stilts? And I asked him that, and I'm still not entirely sure. So moving on, we wanted to highlight some of the upcoming events before the next meeting. So on August 12th, so this Saturday, there's quite a bit going on downtown and in the general downtown area. So Saturday morning, the Great Waterfront Trail Adventure is stopping in Prescott as one of the rest stops. So from 8:30 to 10, there should be around 140 cyclists coming through Prescott. We'll be doing things like having signage for the cafes because of the time of day that they're coming through. And then at the rest stop itself, which will be at the pop-ups, there'll be a water station as well as a setup from both Katarina's and Outpost Cafe, welcoming them to town. And we've also encouraged the pop-up vendors to be open early that day. So after they depart, the Prescott Spiritual Wellness Fair will be starting at 10 a.m. So this is a group that's led by a downtown business, Star Wellness, that's coming into the area directly beside the pop-ups and hosting a vendor fair related to, how would you describe that? To some more metaphysical wellness activities. So there'll again be tarot readers, a lot of gem people there. They'll be having music all day. Isabel, who was at the farmer's market on Saturday, will be there in the morning. Amanda Keeley in the afternoon. So they'll be there set up all day with around 30 vendors. Should be a very good draw down there. And the Spider Rider group is coming through. So this will be about 35 spider bikes that are coming in as part of a fundraiser for CHIO. They'll be parking downtown and having an event at the amphitheater during the day. Last year they were in as well, and a lot of them dispersed around the downtown while they were here. So there should be quite a bit of activity flowing down there this weekend. And if anyone's up bright and early on Saturday morning and you want to come down and cheer the cyclists into Prescott, we would be more than happy to have you down there. And so on August 25th, there's also a couple events happening. Everyone's probably aware now that the Stanley Cup will be in Prescott on the 25th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m.
So exciting.
So it will be at the pavilion, again, sort of down beside the pop-ups. So the pop-ups will be open, it's a Friday, so they'll be open there during that time period. But I think you should probably expect there to be a substantially larger number of people floating around downtown than usual that day. And there is also that evening, the Folk Fest is having a youth-oriented staging or concert at the amphitheater. So it's actually 3 or 4 people who have come to our farmers market quite regularly. Lyric Rogers, Isabel, Bree, Sam, and a young woman who's coming for the first time to the farmers market in 2 weeks, as well as a couple other artists. So it's just sort of a youth-oriented pre-folk fest, pre-concert concert that evening as well.
Any questions? Yes, Jeannie.
Is there any posters for the 25th that we can put in store windows?
For the Hutton? For the Hutton event?
For the, the Folk Fest.
Folk Fest, there you're going around with posters, but lots of social media promotions as well. So if you do see it, then
Oh, I share it.
definitely share it on
Oh, yeah.
your networks. But we're happy to, I can email George this week and see if he's got any he can drop off and, or at least recommend he distribute them. Tracy?
I actually am going to be distributing them to the downtown.
Perfect. Awesome. Can you drop a good whack of them off to the visitor center too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll go through a ton of things there and then we'll take them to the pop-ups
Yeah.
and the lighthouse as well.
And that is on the 27th, the Folk Fest.
The folk,
26,
Yes.
folk fest.
isn't it?
The 20,
That's the Saturday.
Yeah.
is it? Sorry,
Yeah.
the 26th.
So it's, yeah, day after the Hutton and the pre-folk fest
Folk
show.
fest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Youth folk fest.
youth folk fest. What time was that, Justin? 5 to
I
8?
believe it is 5 to 8, so it'll sort of overlap with the event.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, on to staff updates, Digital Main Street.
So I will turn it over here to Taylor, who I think everyone has previously met, but Taylor is our Digital Main Street Coordinator, and he's going to take you through a little bit of an update on the standing of the program in general and downtown Prescott in specific.
So just by the numbers, digital transformation grant, which I believe has just under 2 months left to finish applying. So far in the South Carmel area, 14 businesses have been onboarded. 8 businesses are currently creating their digital transformation grant plan, or submitted their application. I believe more of them are on the side of submitted their application now. CDAP I've had 5 businesses inquire about it, 3 have signed up, and one of them has gone through the full application process, is starting that plan. For the Shop Here program, I've had 9 businesses inquire and sign up about this. And the Digital Service Squad, I've had 8 Digital Service Squad meetings, which have ranged from digital marketing help, social media presence, helping create social media business pages. I've helped with Google business profiles. I've done 2 digital audits, helped with some websites, and done some 360 photos as well. And on to the Prescott side of it, I've served 15 businesses in the Prescott area. 9 businesses have been onboarded for the digital transformation grant. As we speak, 2 have been approved and agreements have been sent out as well. As for digital service squad meetings, I've taken 360 photos. I've helped set up a couple Facebook business pages, done 2 digital audits, and helped with a couple Google business profiles as well.
Excellent. Any questions? Any comments? Okay, on to downtown business and development.
I believe that is over to me. So just kind of building from the last meeting we had, we still have a few businesses pending opening, including Chuck's Roadhouse, which is now looking at August 17th. They have had a couple of job fairs though. Looks like they're hiring about 50 people, so that'll be a great local employment opportunity. And getting very excited about their grand opening. I'm sure everyone has seen that progression happen. Just that entire corner, as Justin had said, with the new restaurants that we've got coming in there. It's really exciting to see just that new variety and more of a reason for people to stop and get out of their vehicles and
and walk and experience and see hopefully some of the other businesses that we have in town. And, you know, I think we're pretty confident it's going to result in some new business attraction as well, and really help fast track the filling of some of those remaining vacancies that we have in the downtown. So really exciting, and they've set a really great example, from the Wing House to Chuck's Lunch, even the Subway that's opened recently. Just, you know, the amount of work that they've put into those properties, the high quality that they're going for with all their interior and exterior furnishings, signage, facade work. It's really exciting. So we're really happy to see them open, and the Wing House is doing quite well. They are still kind of going through their soft opening, rolling out some more menu items as we go. So I'm expecting grand opening to be probably later August for that. And then Renegade's Bar and Grill is still working towards opening, hopefully in August. So things are very much on track, as well as Little Barcelona. They're still working away on the interior, but their patio is open and thriving. So we're hoping that their interior will open up this fall. And then there's a few other developments happening with some just renovations and getting some new properties opened up. I'm sure you'll probably notice what we refer to as the Springer Building on the corner of King and Center Street. Just recently, over the past couple of weeks, has gone in and completely repainted their facade, finished a lot of the interior work that they're doing, and the commercial units are almost at a point of being ready for occupancy. So really excited about that, and they're going to be doing work on the upstairs as well to bring back the residential in the next few months too. So that'll be some exciting development, and it's just amazing what a coat of paint can do on that building. I was just blown away, and they've carried it all the way through, and they've also painted the siding as well, like the awning portion of the siding, which is a really nice compliment too. So that was a proud CIP funded project. They're just kind of coming to the tail end of that. That's a really good example of one that was certainly in need of some TLC. And we've already seen 2 businesses open up in that property that sat vacant for, well, long before I came along, many years. So yeah, those are just a few of the exciting updates. Hopefully a few more to come at the next meeting.
Any questions or comments? Okay, on to item 10, agenda items, stopgap.ca.
So you may recall from the last meeting, we discussed Stopgap CA, which is a not-for-profit program which can build temporary is the correct word, but ramps that you can use for your storefront to make them more accessible to individuals with mobility issues. So these aren't necessarily permanent solutions. They're things that can be moved in and out. They can go out and stay there. They're basically wooden ramps that allow people to use walkers or wheelchairs up into your storefront. So previously the program was more of a capacity building exercise. So they would help community groups put together volunteer groups that could build these ramps for businesses. Now they're willing to take your specifications and build ramps for the specific businesses themselves. So these are fairly basic ramps. They are, can rise up to 9 inches, but allow people to be able to enter into your storefront. So at the last meeting, we just sort of had a higher level discussion of this in the program. We've talked about it a few times before at the board. But with this ability now to actually purchase the purpose-built ramps from the organization, we sort of saw an opportunity for the BIA to maybe partner with downtown businesses that were interested to split the cost of the ramps, to have them put in to allow that sort of temporary stopgap accessibility. So we went around the downtown and sort of looked at the different storefronts to identify how many could potentially benefit from these. And there were 20 storefronts in the downtown that would fit within the 9-inch guidelines for the ramps. So the average ramp cost that's listed from Stopgap is $400 per ramp. So if the BIA want to look at a cost sharing measure and had full uptake from the businesses that were potentially eligible, at a 50-50 cost share, that would be around $4,000 in BIA money and $4,000 in the private business money. I've had the opportunity to talk to 3 or 4 downtown businesses that are enthusiastic about the potential of doing this. We haven't had any formal call out because we didn't know whether this would be something that the board would like to look at doing, but there does seem to be enthusiasm from those initial conversations. And again, it's not something that's a permanent or meant to be a permanent solution to a location's accessibility issues, but it's something that can provide that sort of temporary for a couple of years until there's an investment potentially into something else if that's the direction they want to go in. And it's also something that can provide sort of that easy accessibility. So it can come out in the wintertime, it can come out in snowfalls. It doesn't require a great deal of engineering or any change in how operations deals with the, say, for example, the sidewalks downtown during a snowstorm, but allows more people into those storefronts. So if it was something that you're interested in pursuing as well, I put down at the end, it's the kind of thing that could be allocated to that reserve fund that you presently have the $31,000 in. It's more of a, more longer term investment, which would leave you with the budget from this year to allocate towards those fall and Christmas events, perhaps, or other marketing events. Whereas this is would be a more permanent, semi-permanent installation and investment.
Natalie?
Is there, just a question regarding it, the CIP, does that help with any of that? Can it, like a business use any of the CIP towards that?
So the CIP is for permanent, non-movable assets.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be, unfortunately, it wouldn't apply for this. That would be more for a permanent ramp. But the issue with that is very few commercial storefronts can actually accommodate a ramp once you factor in the grade that needs to be accommodated. If you look at like the museum, unfortunately, it would be so substantial.
Right.
So no, but it is, given it's a minimal cost, Justin's consultations have been nothing but positive. And we would certainly, assist. There could even be a potential, I'm just throwing this out here, Matthew, that maybe economic development could provide a little bit of a bridge financing, even if businesses wanted to pay for it in installments. It may be something through the CFDC even. We can't necessarily hold the money, but we might be able to get an arrangement with CFDC where we could grant them money to, just for those ones who are experiencing some, trouble. I'm sure there's workarounds that we could explore.
I wasn't sure.
And there may well be, we haven't looked into this yet, there may well be funding through, not directly through AODA, but through those type of organizations that are geared towards improving accessibility, access. So we could certainly explore some of those options too and see if there's anything available for businesses to tap into.
And when like snowfall happens, we would have to take them up, right?
Yeah, so you would put them out, it would be more of we talked about having even a little sign to use in the winter that would be on your door if you require ramp assistance with a number there for people to call, even some sort of a call button that you would institute, knock on the store, you know what I mean? Something as simple as that, right? It doesn't need to be, and then it would leave the sidewalks clear for snow plowing activities and things.
So it would be a day-to-day.
Yeah.
We would bring it in and out. And like
In
it
the
would be manageable to do that for most, like, is it a big heavy thing? Would it be?
It's very light.
No, it's very light. I mean, it's basically, 2 triangles of wood.
Plywood
And a plywood top, and it comes
rope
with
handles.
And
It'd be pretty user.
trying to find a picture here to quickly pull up, and I'm failing, but no, they're basically just a box of plywood that can come up and down.
And we would envision during the spring and summer months, you would just put it out when you open, take it in at close, right?
Yeah.
And then in the winter, you would just bring it more out on an as needed
Just
basis.
stay in for the winter.
Yeah, and on non-snowy days, you wouldn't have, you could leave it out, right?
Yeah,
As long as
yeah.
you're not in a
The snow
snowstorm.
stuff, you probably just leave
Yeah.
it in.
Yeah.
Buy into so many, or can you just say we have 3 businesses and,
Yeah, it would be scaled to the number of this, yeah, if only 3 or 4 chose to sign on, then we could do 3 or 4. If all 20 did, then we could do all 20.
it's probably something that people have to see to say if they're gonna be in or not.
And we have 2 or 3 really enthusiastic potential participants, so it's something where we could have some people very, very, early in the fall with them, if we pursued it. And people can have a look at it. There is a very sort of grainy photo of what they look like there, but they have handles right on them, and they're just basically like plywood, and they can be painted, any color that you'd like, on there as well.
And we'd like the idea of maybe branding them too.
I know, I was just gonna say, for aesthetics, I think we should have them all one color, like a Prescott blue or something. Like you give people the option of like,
That's gonna be everywhere.
It could be some weird
make
choices.
my OCD just go crazy.
Okay, there are some really cute ones here, like painted fun designs, fish on them and in Cambridge, so they went and did unique, they're almost like little pieces of art.
I like the idea of it looking nice for sure, but if it's all one color, what if it doesn't match your storefront? That would drive my OCD crazy. Yeah, but parameters for sure. Maybe not just get totally psychedelic with them.
Yeah, kind of like our design guidelines, have similar, yeah.
Or do they paint?
So I believe they can paint themselves, but it could be, I'm sure they could come unpainted too, possibly. I think the actual building of it is sort of their core.
So it would be up to the store owner to paint their own kind of thing.
If you wanted to
If
paint.
you went in that direction, I think I know they will paint them for you too.
Okay.
So you have your choice of 5 colors, red, green, blue, yellow, or black. Black is an additional $50 apparently.
Exterior black is always more expensive.
Must be the most popular color.
And then if anyone wanted something beyond that, then they would be welcome to paint them as long as they got the color, just gave us a heads up on what they're thinking. It's just a little ramp. I can't imagine we're gonna be overly concerned about color.
It's a good idea. My storefront definitely has a big step and I have a lot of elderly clients. So I think that a lot of different people, including myself, would be interested. And I think as the business side of it, $200 is really reasonable to aid people in and out. Now I have the advantage of knowing when people are coming, such as yourself, and even like Nicole, like that type of business, maybe not as much. So you'd have to get a little creative how you're going to use it best, but if it could stay out, but like I know ahead, so-and-so's coming, I'd be able to pop it out on that day. So yeah, for me, I definitely see value in that idea.
Tracy?
Oh, I absolutely, well, our business would participate for sure. I think it's a great idea. And if you want us to be one of the first, I'll definitely do it.
You pilot?
I would definitely do it. I was thinking too, you could even maybe incorporate like a decal of the lighthouse just to keep everything. Since we have the lighthouse lights and something like that. But yeah, I'm all for it. I think it's great.
Cool.
I think it's a good idea.
Jean?
Most definitely.
I really like too that it shows a sense of community and inclusiveness. I love that about it. Okay, so we have a recommendation that the BIA allocate up to $4,000, 50% of total costs, towards funding accessibility ramps through stopgap.ca for eligible downtown storefronts. Do I have a mover? And a seconder? All in favor? Okay, on to item 11, new business for members. Jerry.
Well, it's actually right in line with what Tracy said about art competitions, or I really love the whole art part of it. It's a little sad that the iHeart isn't going to be a bit grander. Still very good ideas, but I was really visualizing the side of a building and stuff, but maybe we could get there. Maybe we could keep that beautifying in the back of our minds and moving forward. But with the line of that, I got on to different art things we could do, maybe making a presentation of what we had done and making a weekend and an event of it. And some of that could look at as some of the younger kids could do maybe a drawing art, they submit it, we could use that artwork to maybe put on some of our storefronts that aren't quite yet filled yet, things like that. I still want to see something done with those gardens between the Coast Guard and the liquor store. So I was trying to think of things that are low maintenance and art again. I thought maybe we could have some sort of competition to encourage community to get out and participate and paint rocks. Maybe we could fill sections of them that by rocks painted by the community. Maybe we could label it, you know, a garden of kindness, something like that, where they could even be encouraged to have motivational sayings on said rocks. You don't have to, you can do whatever you want, but then in a contest spirit of it, make fun of it, and then kind of give maybe someone who would or wouldn't participate a little extra reason to participate just for the fun of the competition. And then on another level, bringing the event into it and maybe some sort of art event. So at the pop-up location, maybe again, we'd have lots of vendors, hopefully as local as possible with all their wares. And I know you have lots of contacts there, so maybe it could explode out of our two little co-op, well, not little, two co-op businesses that are kind of going on and explode out to make it an event. And then like, even maybe could we bring in a wood carver or something that would make something that would stay in the community as an art piece too. So that was just kind of more on the arts and the contests, and maybe not this year, we got lots of stuff going on, but again, moving forward and having that in the back of our minds of maybe next fall, because I was thinking fall, maybe that could be our time of year that we really shine. We could be big for Halloween and also have some sort of really unique fall event, whether it be the art or something else. But yeah, those are all the ideas.
Thoughts? So Terry, thank you. Amazing ideas. So I've written a bunch of notes, so we can then take them to the subcommittees and kind of work on implementing how that's going to work. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think some of them we're already kind of working on and some go along with others. But yeah, if they just spin off and see where they go, where we tie them in. Oh, and actually while I'm spewing ideas, I have a client, this is really just kind of an idea, so wherever it falls, take it out to the side meeting. But I've had many discussions about the clothes in your closet, and this kind of comes off of you, so maybe you'll spin with this, but she again has all these clothes, you know, and what do you do with them? Donating them is great, a lot of us do, but some sort of swap, some sort of something, some sort of event or opportunity that people would come with their own out of their closet that they're not wearing anymore in good quality condition. Of course, we want to be careful. We want to keep it classy, but something like that. And that's just been hair chair talk, and it keeps coming around. Like there's so many people with these closets.
Yeah.
So maybe it could be a small event tied to something, but that's just just keeps coming up.
Could we maybe go with the EEC, or I'm not sure what it's called, the employment place there, and have a career night dress up?
Yeah.
Getting people back into the workforce that need higher end clothes other than blue jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah, and make it more of a, just like a collect up the clothes and have them, and then that be the use of the clothes instead of
men, women.
Yeah, instead of a whole big event, yeah,
Yeah.
because
But
that's.
like smaller events that they can come in comfortably and say, look, I'm changing careers. I need to go from this style to this style. Can you help me?
Yeah, because most of these people aren't really looking to, sell it for a lot. That's bringing this up, right?
Yeah.
Because if you want to, you can do marketplace, you can do a billion ways to sell your used clothes. I mean, but yes, they're good stuff that they almost hate to give away, even though it's good to give. But so that would be, could you kind of know where, like, okay, someone really wants that, or, yeah, that is a good. So maybe we can spin it off to them. They could take control of something like that. And then come to me, because I've got lots of clients that want to clean their closet out, apparently.
What about like a fashion show?
I was just gonna say that.
That'd be fun.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
That would
Like
be
a
fun.
fashion show, like a new twist on a fashion show.
Yeah, and that could be
Fashions,
a drawing card and
New to
then
you, new to you fashions.
Yeah, Mountain has a really good one. It's called a ladies' night. They have what's called the mashed potato martini.
I see, I like the
Okay.
name.
Yeah, it's actually, you get a large martini glass, you put in your mashed potatoes, and it has food at the event, and it's a small fee to go. And then there's vendors too. But you made your supper out of a huge martini glass based with the mashed potatoes at the bottom, and you can pick your toppings. It's cool.
Okay, and they do a fashion show and they
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
okay, well, that's fun.
In the fashion show, can you do like an auction? Because I know you said the ladies, they don't want to give it necessarily, but also have it, like price. So if they auction it out, so it's not like.
Maybe like a couple of the really nice
Yeah,
outfits
you
or
could do
something.
something within the
And
event.
then turn it a little bit into a fundraiser.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some would maybe go to whomever donated that outfit, but then
Go to somewhere
at
else,
least
yeah.
half of it would go somewhere else. Yeah, that's a fun idea. That's getting creative with your clothes. Mhm.
Any other comments?
I have something I wanted to bring up, but
Yes.
not about, if we're done with that.
Okay.
I wanted to ask about the poker run that was on the weekend. It used to come to Prescott. And I had a lot of comments about why is it not coming to Prescott? Because when you stop to think about it, it comes from Gananoque to Brockville. There's very few spots where people can actually either drive their car or get out and stand and watch the poker run. And so when it came from Brockville down to Prescott, that's a real corridor for people to get out, and there's lots of places for them to see. So why aren't they coming to Prescott? Is there something we can do about it? Can we partner with Augusta Township and maybe have them, I think it's all about the poker hand they get, I guess, even though we think it's the speed of the boats, it's really not. It's about the poker hand. So we could guarantee there's going to be a card in Prescott that's worth $2,500, or if you have a card worth $5,000, then you will have them come back. I know there's probably a lot of work if we're bringing them into the marina, but they could pick up their card from a barge just out in front too. So there's lots of options. But I talked to some of the racers, and they were disappointed that they didn't get to come down. They used to come into the harbor, I think, didn't they, Matthew?
Yeah, so we have had a couple of discussions about it. It's a fairly large upfront cost to be a host community. And the number of spots they needed was beyond what we could accommodate in the harbor itself, because they required, I think it was like 30 or 40 spots. And we just couldn't do it, unfortunately. But certainly something that we'll look back into, see. I like the idea of the barge option.
Yeah.
And we do have about the 200-foot deep water pier dock in front of Prescott Place, which I think would be a great alternative.
Yeah, that's what someone else had mentioned, because in Brockville, they tied off 3 at a time.
Right.
So if they did that, you don't really need 10 spots. So I thought it was a lot of interest about why they weren't coming. So I thought that was kind of, I don't know if it's through here or through council, or probably both.
Yeah, I think we'll get a little bit more information, and then we'll give that to both BIA and council and see.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And if I may, just on the Coast Guard, we are working with them on how we can reinvigorate their entire gardens and that sort of thing. That's going to be hopefully our project for 2024. And we do have a local group that's interested in partnering with that. So it is something that's definitely on our radar and that we want to tackle. And I was kind of going through Streets View as you were talking, and there's a great amount of concrete kind of where the planters are. And if we did something like we did on the beach side where it says Explore Prescott and that sort of thing along that concrete, or have different messages along that, I think it would be a great opportunity. So thanks for bringing it up, and it's something that we'll continue working on. But that's kind of one of our core beautification projects for 2024.
That's great.
Tracy?
So I was down on Saturday at the market and everything, and it was fantastic. And one of the items that came up a couple of times is the 2-hour limit on parking from Monday to Saturday. So I didn't know if the BIA if we thought we should approach or, have more discussion on the parking and whether or not during tourist season it should be something that we want to maybe not as enforced so much, or just as parking as a whole, looking at parking downtown, if that's maybe something we can visit.
So it will come up at council probably in the first meeting in September.
Oh.
So if there's anybody from the BIA that wants to give feedback through the chair or through Dana, I'm more than happy to have that. Just to give an indication, that 2-hour parking limit's been on the books for well over a decade. Now we're being a little bit more actively enforcing it, and I think that's creating some comments and feedback. So certainly we take note of that. But at the same time, council also asked us to be a little bit more active on it. So it's something that we'll come back, have a conversation about if BIA wishes to weigh in on that. What we are finding is quite a few employees are being hit with it. So, on the one side, people say we don't have enough parking downtown. Other people say we have too much parking downtown. And some people say that we don't enforce it enough. Other people enforce it too much. So there is really no happy medium as that we can find, but certainly, ultimately it's council's decision in how they want us to do that. And we will take our direction from that.
Can I just add to that? I know my employee gets affected by it almost daily. So is there like a possibility of like a parking pass that employees could possibly purchase or like businesses could obtain? So
not currently in the bylaw, and so I think that came up as an idea, those types of things. So I think anything's on the table. I think it's always a good time to have the discussion. So if there's that kind of feedback, then by all means give that to Dana, and that will go through me, and then we'll present that to council as possibilities. Also, I don't believe the Clock Tower parking lot has a 2-hour time limit on it. So if people want to park there, then certainly there's that opportunity.
So the clock tower is okay to park in?
Yeah, we do. There is some historic signage that does need to come down there because it is not being actively enforced, but there is a limitation sign there. I think a lot of it is also tied into the fact that the farmer's market was there.
Okay.
But, from in my experience with other communities, a lot of it is an education thing too. In Prescott, all of the side streets are enforcement free, basically. The only area that gets actively enforced is King. So all Water Street, completely open. The municipally owned lots, completely open. Any side streets like Center, George, all of those are completely open. They are not actively enforced under the 2-hour parking limit. And I would suggest, that's something that maybe the BIA wants to take a lead in providing a bit more education to the downtown property owners about, not only about where you can park, but also encouraging those merchants to leave that King Street open for your customers. As business owners, ideally you should be provided with a place to park by your landlord. And if not, try to focus on getting your vehicle onto those side streets because, you know, I think ideally at the end of the day, you want your place of business to be accessible for your customers, not your employees. That really is the focus that other downtowns are taking. So, you know, I think it's a combination of education, certainly, as well as just understanding, you know, where you can and can't park and trying to keep things open as much as possible for those with mobility issues. So
I didn't realize that the side streets weren't monitored.
yeah, anywhere beyond King. I did have a conversation with our bylaw manager recently, just because we've certainly been hearing some of those concerns too,
Yeah.
coming from downtown businesses. So that's what we were talking about is maybe in the next few weeks, could come up with some more education just to keep people informed as to where you can and can't park, because I think there's just a lot of uncertainty in that regard.
Oh, I don't know for sure.
Awesome.
And King Street is the only 2-hour parking limit that we have. There is no other limits unless it's signed by 15 minutes for that sort of thing. I can run the post office, but yeah, King Street is the only place where we have 2-hour parking.
That's fair though. That's like, I feel like that's more than fair. I didn't realize, I'm like, I never get a ticket, but I always park.
You're always on the side.
Think it was enforced, and I will correct myself, but I've had clients ask me, I'm like, oh, I don't even think we have an enforcer here because I'm new to the community. It's a bad thing, but I won't say that anymore.
I think during COVID, it was relaxed.
It was.
And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, it's just coming back,
And that's
right?
kind of the thing with me with timing. We weren't here that long before that happened, so I'm still just learning how life normally was, but yeah, be sure not to say that anymore. I'll be very angry at me.
We had the same issue with our employees, because they said, I've parked here for years and I never got a ticket. And then one day they all came to me and said, well, we got a ticket. And I said, I don't know what that is. Like, are you sure? And I said, is it real? And then I read it, I was like, you gotta go to town hall. And then, so everyone at once there, like maybe 5 of them, like, where were we gonna park, Nicole? Should we park on the shop? I was like, no, like. So, yeah, some of them, like, they've been parking kind of where the beach is, but they've also voiced out of like, is it possible to get somehow a ticket? Because if you park in the side streets, it's really far. I don't know, like, but I think more information of like, just to educate them to say, these are the streets you can park in, because they're also now scared because they've thought before that I've always parked on King and I didn't get a ticket. What if I get it again, Nicole? Like, what will happen then? Like, I want to keep paying. But then I'm not also sure, like some customers have asked about where the tennis court is, like that big parking area, is that?
Yes,
That's open.
That's open as well?
Yeah.
Good, because I've been telling people and they're just hoping that they don't get ticketed, but.
And so I think this conversation is very beneficial for us to hear so that way we can kind of craft our message out to people and say, you know, this is areas where you can park, you know, if you're parking longer than 2 hours, you know, pick one of these parking lots or side streets, that sort
And
of
if
thing.
it's not like too much to ask, like, even if an email sent out to us or any business owner, like just to have like a map, like these are really like, I would love to walk around and remember that this is, you know, to tell them and they might. But they said also like some of the side streets have like the no parking symbol, so they're not sure, so they don't, and then they end up circling and trying to find
Yeah,
it.
and
But
we can definitely do a map up that shows, you know, where you can park, where you can't, that sort of thing. Yeah. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up because it was on my mind and I totally forgot.
I had one more thing I wanted to ask.
Yes.
I know we discussed this window washing downtown. Did we ever follow through with that or did we just have the discussion? Because it's looking kind of crappy.
So I think we just left it more from trying to encourage those, you know, businesses. I think we were gonna maybe go back around to see if there was any renewed interest. I know we just talked about it last time. The interest that we got was from businesses that were doing it already.
Yes.
And there were some liability concerns about the town just going in and starting washing privately owned windows, just for potential of liability. If glass gets broken, who's now ultimately gonna be responsible for that? It's gonna be the town.
But I
That's not to
thought we
say-
discussed hiring somebody and charging the vacant people.
So that's what we did, is we reached out previously, and the only interest we got was from the business owners and property owners that were already paying window washers. So I think we were gonna go back out. We haven't had an opportunity to do so at this point. Our focus for this meeting was the ramp project, but we're certainly more than happy to go back out to businesses. There's been a lot of changeover, so, there may be more interest in them coming on board. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, it isn't necessarily going to address the problem ones, but we're addressing those internally through our vacant registration bylaw and through some new window coverings that are being ordered and being installed directly with the permission of some of those downtown property owners. So you'll see some of those windows getting covered up with proper materials as well as being cleaned at the same time over the next few weeks leading up into September.
It's pretty affordable, like,
Yeah.
It's very, very affordable.
Yeah.
The windows to be cleaned, like.
Yeah.
It was just simply a matter of we weren't getting the ones from the problem children out there. They're not responding to this is why they're problems.
Yeah, they're not just the outside, they're the.
It's the inside, right? So it's not, and a lot of times it's just the state of the interior. So we're having I had a good conversation with a property owner just last week, actually, and they were very open and the covering has been ordered. So within the next couple of weeks, once that arrives, it'll be going in, and it's, it's a work in progress too. And we're trying to, work with these property owners and not create hardship, but it does get to be at a certain point that.
Yeah, at a certain point, after years of neglect, I think they just have to get a bill.
And we can certainly, if that is the BI, Matthew, I'm sure you can speak to this better than I can from that liability. Is that something the town wants to entertain? And at what point do we just go in and do it through a property standards thing? I think that's the other difficulty, is the property standards bylaw really doesn't speak to these things. So we're looking at redoing some of these bylaws to hopefully get some more teeth in them that can be used to address some of these issues too.
Yeah, so from a property standards perspective, there's certain things we can do. Usually it has to do with health and safety, that sort of thing. Windows washing tends to be a little more aesthetic, and then there's some things that we can enforce, some things that we can't. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where we prompt, we prod, we threaten with a stick, but ultimately that stick can't be all that large.
And the design guidelines too have been amended, and they do speak to a lot of those issues as well. So I think that provides us with a little bit more to go in and at least initiate those conversations. And it does work with a lot, but you're always going to have those. We are getting to a point, I will say, that I am seeing more and more property owners, for lack of a better word, being shamed into making those improvements because it's happening all around them. And it's going to get to a point where you just can't anymore continue to sit on these issues and maintain.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, I'd like to thank everyone for all of their feedback, and I think we had a really great conversation. So as you can see, our Marketing and Promotions Committee meeting is coming up on August 15th, and our Placemaking Committee is August 22nd. So before we adjourn, was there anything anyone else wanted to ask or contribute? Jeannie?
Just question, which committee had the opening?
Well, we would have openings on the placemaking committee.
Placemaking? Okay. So I can just kind of invite myself to it?
I will invite you. Would you like to join us at the placemaking committee? Or subcommittee? It'd be so much fun.
Location.
We usually meet at the museum,
Okay, cool.
5:30, and if it's nice, we go and sit on one of the patios.
One more question. Are we gonna need to fill our empty seat now around the table, or are we just gonna ride it out for now? Or is that a discussion for another time? Be right now.
I think our focus for today was just making sure that the executive positions had gotten filled. And then we're going to take a look at what our numbers look like, what quorum looks like, what attendance looks like, and determine what our next steps are going to be from there, just because there's different ways to look at that. So we want to double check the bylaws to see what we should be doing and how to proceed with it. But obviously, as ambassadors, that is constantly one of the things that we should always be thinking about in terms of recruiting. So if there's anyone that you have spoken to or anyone you think that is interested in, just keep talking it up.
Okay. And just tell them to come forward, like if any, I just was wondering if we had a plan or if we were having a discussion later. But if there was someone, you would just encourage them to kind of bring themselves forward to the board saying they want to be part, or
just have them reach out to myself or Dana or Justin.
Okay.
And we can figure it out from there.
And we can include that with the endorsement of the board on the next agenda for discussion, if you'd like to have that further discussion as to how we want to approach future vacancies.
Sound good?
Yeah.
that sounds great.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Well done, everybody. Really collaborative meeting. So proud of you all. Okay, so my recommendation is that the meeting be adjourned. Oh, and just again, want to thank Justin and Dana as always for all of their contribution and assistance. We couldn't do this without you guys. So the recommendation is that the meeting be adjourned to September 12th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Do I have a mover?